Bones is an American crime procedural comedy drama television series that premiered on Fox in the United States on September 13, 2005. The show is based on forensic anthropology and forensic archaeology, with each episode focusing on an FBI case file concerning the mystery behind human remains brought by FBI Special Agent Seeley Booth to forensic anthropologist Drive, Temperance, Bones, Brennan. The rest of the main cast includes Michaela Conline, Jay Thine, Eric Mulligan, Jonathan Adams, Tamara Taylor, John Francis Daly, and John Boyd. Created by Hart Hanson, the series is very loosely based on the life and writings of novelist and forensic anthropologist Kathy Reichs, who also produces the show. Its title character, Temperance Brennan, is named after the protagonist of Reichs' crime novel series. Similarly, Dr. Brennan writes successful mystery novels featuring a fictional forensic anthropologist named Kathy Reichs. Bones is a joint production by Josephson Entertainment, Farfield Productions and 20th Century Fox Television. Bones was renewed for an 11th season, which premiered on October 1, 2015. Premise. The premise of the show is an alliance between forensic anthropologist Drive, Temperance, Bones, Brennan and FBI Special Agent Seeley Booth. Brennan is the central character and team leader of the fictional Jeffersonian Institute Medico-Legal Lab, a federal institution that collaborates with the FBI, mirroring the real-life relationship between the FBI and the Smithsonian Institution. Set in Washington, D.C., the show revolves around solving federal legal cases by examining the human remains of possible murder victims. Dr. Brennan and her team provide scientific expertise and Special Agent Booth provides FBI criminal investigation technique. In addition to the prospective murder cases featured in each episode, the series explores the backgrounds and relationships of its characters. An important ongoing dynamic between Brennan and Booth is their disagreement about science and faith. Brennan argues for science, evidence, and atheism. Booth argues for faith and God. The series is also known for its dark comedic undertones to, in essence, lighten the gravity of the show's intense subject matter. Cast and characters. Main cast: Emily Deschanel as Dr. Temperance Bones Brennan, a brilliant forensic anthropologist working at the renowned Jeffersonian Institute located in Washington, D.C. She is an empiricist and author of crime fiction based on her experiences. Due to her childhood traumas, she is also an atheist and a staunch believer in facts and evidence. Consequently, she comes off as distant and detached. Nevertheless, she has shown empathy and compassion. Her dearth of social skills provides most of the show's light-hearted humor, primarily through her catchphrase, "I don't know what that means," whenever a pop culture reference is introduced into conversation. She is noted to have a high IQ and impressive reasoning skills. She and her FBI partner, Seeley Booth, begin a relationship near the end of Season 6 and have a daughter they name Christine, in honor of her late mother, in Season 7. They marry in Season 9. A son, Hank, named for Booth's paternal grandfather, is born in Season 11. Brennan's original name was Joy Keenan. David Boreanaz as Seeley Booth. FBI Special Agent Booth seeks out Brennan's professional help in his investigations involving human remains that cannot be identified without Brennan's skills and those of her colleagues. The character is often used as an audience surrogate to provide a layman's translation of the scientific jargon-filled dialogue, especially in the squints conversations or lab scenes. He gives Brennan her nickname, Bones, which she starts out hating but comes to accept. He is a skilled investigator and interrogator who often relies on his gut and cop instincts. A decorated veteran of the United States Army Rangers, where he was a sniper, he has a son from a previous relationship, Parker, and a younger brother, Jared. He also has a daughter, Christine, with Brennan and a son, Hank, named after his grandfather. Raised in the Catholic Church, he is purportedly a member of the well-known Booth family and, as such, is related to John Wilkes Booth, which he does not like to discuss. Michaela Conline as Angela Montenegro, a forensic artist of the Jeffersonian Institute and Brennan's best friend. Angela is Brennan's team specialist in forensic facial reconstruction, helping to identify the victims, and can generate holograms using her three-dimensional graphics program to simulate various virtual scenarios of a crime to help determine cause of death. She is open, friendly, and caring and constantly tries to draw Brennan out of the lab. Angela's very scary father is played by Billy Gibbons, guitarist of ZZ Top, guest starring as a fictional version of himself. In Season 5, she marries co-worker Drive, Jack Hodgins, and gives birth to their son, Michael Vincent, in Season 6. Her birth name is Pookie Noodlin, as revealed in the 10th season. T.J. Thine as Dr. Jack Hodgins, an entomologist who is also an expert on spores and minerals but whose hobby is conspiracy theories. Hodgins regularly refers to himself as the lab's bug and slime guy. During an investigation, he primarily deals with particulates and trace evidence and, at the crime scene, will provide Booth the approximate time of death. He is best friends with former co-worker Zach Addy and often tries to educate him on social norms. His family is extremely wealthy and are major sponsors of the Jeffersonian. However, Hodgins wishes for this status to remain concealed from his colleagues. It eventually came out during an investigation, and nobody has allowed it to significantly impact their relationship with him. He later loses all his wealth due to the scheming of serial killer Christopher Pellant, but he manages to regain a considerable portion of it eventually. Initially through the sale of a hot sauce he creates in collaboration with intern Finn Abernathy, and later through a still more successful creation, the non-breakable beaker. He marries Angela Montenegro in Season 5, following an on-again off-again romance since the 2nd season. She gives birth to their son, Michael Vincent, in Season 6. Eric Mulligan as Dr. Zach Addy, introduced in Season 1 as Dr. Brennan's graduate student and intern. In Season 2, he receives his doctorates in forensic anthropology and mechanical engineering and joins the staff of the Jeffersonian as a full-fledged professional. Like Brennan, his inability to pick up on Booth's, Hodgins' or Angela's pop culture jokes and references was a running gag and a source of humorously awkward moments in the lab. Though he has shown he has other, normal, interests such as being a basketball fan. A recurring element in the show involved Zach and Hodgins amicably but resolutely competing to be king of the lab. In The Pain in the Heart, a trophy presented to him by Dr. Sarah Jans recognizing Zach as king of the lab is revealed. Zach was removed from his position on Brennan's team in the Season 3 finale, The Pain in the Heart, when he was revealed to be the apprentice of the serial killer Gormogan. He is currently residing in a psychiatric facility after he pled insanity to avoid a prison term, as Hodgins told him he would not do well in the general prison population. Zach is also known as Zacharoni and Z-Man. Jonathan Adams as Dr. Daniel Goodman, an archaeologist turned administrator, who is the director of the Jeffersonian Institute. He is a loving husband and father to a pair of 5-year-old twin girls. His way of working leads Hodgins to think of him as subjective, long-winded, and lacking the qualities of a pure scientist. Although the antagonism between the two develops into a friendly rivalry as the season progresses, he has not made any appearances beyond Season 1. As of Episode 23, The Titan on the Tracks, he is said to be on sabbatical. Tamara Taylor as Dr. Camille Saroyan succeeds Drive Goodman as the head of the forensic division at Jeffersonian Institute and is a pathologist. She was a coroner in New York City. Dr. Saroyan had a romantic relationship with Booth prior to her joining the Jeffersonian and a brief relationship during the show. At first, she and Dr. Brennan have an uneasy working relationship, but she grows to be an integral member of the Jeffersonian team. Since season 4, she has had a teenage adopted daughter, Michelle, because of her prior relationship with Michelle's murdered father. Later in the series, she becomes romantically involved with intern Aristu Vaziri. John Francis Daly as Dr. Lance Sweets, an FBI psychologist assigned to Booth and Brennan after Booth arrests her father. He is frequently consulted to provide a profile on the suspects and victims involved and to give a more humanized perspective on the case. Due to his youth, he is initially treated by Booth and the Jeffersonian team in a condescending manner, but eventually earns their respect and the friendship, even of Brennan, who notably dismisses psychology as a soft science, and he is often sought for advice from the team. In the season 10 premiere, it is revealed that he and Daisy are expecting a baby. Soon after, he is fatally assaulted while serving a warrant. He dies with Booth and Brennan by his side. John Boyd as James Aubrey, a junior FBI agent working under Booth. Originally, Aubrey tries to win Booth's approval and trust, as Booth is reluctant due to Aubrey's inexperience. However, he is eventually accepted by Booth and the rest of the team. When he was a child, his father was an investment broker who cheated his clients and fled the country, abandoning Aubrey and his mother and leaving them with nothing. Recurring cast: Patricia Belcher as Caroline Julian. Caroline is the acerbic, witty, and often meddlesome assistant U.S. attorney from the U.S. Department of Justice. She is a friend of Booth and is always willing, if not eager, to help him and his partner in the cases. Ryan O'Neal as Max Brennan. Max Keenan, aka Max Brennan, is the father of Russ and Temperance Brennan. He and his wife were non-violent bank robbers who became involved with gangs in the 1970s. They changed identities to lead an honest life with their children. Booth arrests Max on murder charges in season 2, and he is tried in season 3. The jury finds him not guilty on all counts and he is released, finally able to reconnect openly with his children. Lauren Dean as Russ Brennan. Russ Brennan, aka Kyle Keenan, is the older brother of Temperance Brennan, aka Joy Keenan, and the son of Max Keenan. Russ has a troubled past and has spent some time in prison. He is involved with a woman named Amy Hollister and loves her 2 daughters, Emma and Haley. After he and Temperance were abandoned by their parents, he also abandoned his sister, which led to long-held animosity from her. He first appears in the season 1 finale, where he patches things up with his sister and also reunites with his father in season 2. His last appearance is in season 3, although he is mentioned in later seasons. Eugene Bird as Dr. Clark Edison. He is the most serious and professional of the Jeffersonian interns, as well as the most organized. At the beginning of season 8, Cam hires Clark as a forensic anthropologist to focus on archaeological work. Brendan Fair as Jared Booth. Jared is Agent Seeley Booth's younger brother that's notoriously getting into trouble. In seasons 4 and 5, his appearances are troublesome to his older brother, especially when he announces his engagement to a former escort, whom he later divorced. In season 11, the trend continues, but this time with a much more dire outcome as Jared is the newest victim for the Jeffersonian, and it takes detached forensic work on Brennan's part to discover that his remains are not those of Seeley Booth. Michael Grant Terry as Wendell Bray. He is Dr. Brennan's top scholarship intern. He dates Angela briefly during season 5. In season 9, he is diagnosed with Ewing's sarcoma. After seeking treatment, he appears to be in full remission. Carla Gallo as Daisy Wick. Overeager and somewhat manipulative, she is often annoying to other workers at the Jeffersonian. She has an on-again, off-again relationship with Lance Sweets. They later have a son named Lance, born some months after his father's death. Joel David Moore as Colin Fisher. Fisher suffers from depression and has a very dark sense of humor. He sometimes spends time at mental health facilities for treatment. PJ Vardatas Aristu Vaziri. Aristu starts out by having a fake Iranian accent, so he does not have to constantly explain his Islamic beliefs, but later drops it. In Season 8, he begins dating Cam. Ryan Cartwright as Vincent Nigel Murray. Vincent is an Englishman and a graduate of the University of Leeds. He has a habit of reciting trivia while working. In Season 6, he is fatally shot in the chest by sniper Jacob Brodsky. Hodgins and Angela name their son's second middle name after him. Luke Kleintank as Finn Abernathy. Finn is the youngest intern to date. He is from North Carolina and has a thick Southern accent, which leads Hodgins to call him Oppie. Finn, in turn, calls Hodgins, who is from a very wealthy family, Thurston. He and Cam's daughter fall in love and began dating, initially behind her mother's back. She later breaks up with him after moving away to college, realizing that the distance and new developments in their lives have caused them to drift apart. Brian Klugman as Oliver Wells. Oliver is a lab assistant who boasts of his 160 IQ and is considerably arrogant. He and Dr. Brennan do not enjoy the best of working relationships, especially after he tells her that he aims to surpass her reputation. A polymath, he has a wide, if indolent, range of interests, from physics to psychology. He appears to bond with Hodgins later in the series, and with the rest of the team, to a certain extent. Production. Conception. The concept of Bones was developed during the latter part of the pitching season of 2004 when 20th Century Fox approached series creator Hart Hansen with an idea for a forensics show. Hansen was asked to meet with executive producer Barry Josephson, who had purchased the rights to produce a documentary on the forensic anthropologist and author Kathy Reichs. Although Hansen was reluctant about being involved in making a police procedural, he signed on and wrote the pilot episode after having an intensive meeting with Josephson about the show. As the show is based on the works of Reichs, the writers constantly involve her in the process of producing the episode's storylines. Although the show's main character is also loosely based on Reichs, producers decided to name her Temperance Brennan, after the character in Reichs' novels. Reichs has stated that she views the show as somewhat of a prequel to her novels, with the TV show's Temperance Brennan as a younger version of the novel's Temperance Brennan. In order to make Bones a unique crime drama in the midst of the multiple procedural dramas that already populated network television like the Law and Order and CSI franchises, Hansen decided to infuse the show with as much dark humor and character development as possible. Another element conceived for the show was the Angelatron, a holographic projector that provides a way to replace the flashbacks often used by other procedural shows. In addition to their expositional purposes, the holographic images, which are created by visual effects, brought a unique visual style to the show that the producers were looking for. Casting. David Boreanaz was the first actor to be cast in Bones. Series creator Hart Hansen described the actors who had auditioned for the role of Seeley Booth as pretty boy waifs. He immediately responded when the head of the studio, Dana Walden, suggested Boreanaz for the role. Boreanaz was offered the role but was unenthusiastic about getting involved after a difficult meeting with executive producers Barry Josephson and Hart Hansen, even though he thought the script was well written. However, after the producers contacted him again to convince him to accept the role, Boreanaz agreed to sign on and was cast as Seeley Booth. Emily Deschanel was cast in the role of Temperance Brennan just before production began on the Bones pilot. After Deschanel finished the film Glory Road, the film's producer Jerry Bruckheimer recommended that she audition for Bones. Deschanel impressed Hart Hansen at her audition with her assertiveness. In a tense moment in the audition scene, David Boreanaz stepped closer to Deschanel, and Deschanel held her ground rather than retreating. Hansen remarked that, in such a situation, 90% of actors would take a step back. Deschanel was subsequently cast in the role. Beginning with season 4, Zach Addy was replaced by a succession of lab assistants. Wendell Bray, Colin Fisher, Aristu Vaziri, Vincent Nigel Murray, Clark Edison and Daisy Wick. 1. Scott Starrett is much older than the typical grad student. Marissa Coughlan guest starred in a few mid-season episodes as FBI agent Peyton Perotta, who was brought to the Jeffersonian as a temporary substitute for Booth when he was incapacitated. Filming most of Bones is filmed in Los Angeles, California, despite the fact that the show is mainly set in Washington, D.C., where the fictional Jeffersonian Institute is located. The external shots are of the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles. The interiors of the Jeffersonian Institute were specially built on a large soundstage at the 20th Century Fox lot in Century City, Los Angeles. The two-part Season 4 premiere was filmed on location in London and Oxford, England. Music. The soundtrack album, titled Bones, original television soundtrack, produced by Maria Alont McCoy and Billy Gottlieb, was released in 2008. It contains 13 songs recorded by popular artists for the show.